Yeah. Okay. So this afternoon, we are going to identify how to collaborate with the VCSE sector. We're going to explain where to find VCSEs to work with or signpost to. We're going to describe the benefits of working with a VCSE sector, and we're going to complete an asset map of local VCSEs. And VCSEs are voluntary community and social enterprises. So they're charities and other community organisations and non-for-profits. So I'm sure that you are all aware of some of these issues that people come with. So the Supportive Communities programme was developed after the public health team at the SCC analysed why people were contacting the SCC through Staffordshire Cares. This result found that although some people needed social care assessments and potentially a formal package of care, there were, however, many needs that could potentially be met by the community. Linking in with the voluntary sector organisations and working with in a strength-based way can help people to stay independent. It can help to prevent or delay someone needing a care package, or community support can even complement the care package. I'm sure you have identified quite a lot of those that you've seen your clients come in with. So just want to myth bust some things about charities and about the charity sector. So some people think that the sector isn't significant, but the charity sector plays a vital role, not only in society, but into the UK economy. Staffordshire State of the Sector report found a turnover of £100 million. It employs almost 8,000 people and has 50,000 volunteers that have a gross value of £900 million. You might think it's messy and that there are too many organisations. You'd be right, it is messy, but you might be tempted to think that's a bad thing. But when communities are messy and complicated, so is the sector, which has grown from the community and is going to reflect that. Nobody said the private sector wasn't messy. It lacks professionalism and competence. It's not true. There is a huge range of expertise and skills in the sector. Remember, many individuals are trained, qualified, and have worked in other sectors, different regions and nationally. They're not just well-intended amateurs. The third sector services are free. Unfortunately, this is not true. Someone somewhere is paying for them. It may be via a statutory contract. It might be local foundation. It could be through fundraising and be as simply as someone stood outside the supermarket with a bucket. VCSEs are simply do-gooders. VCSEs are often seen as simple, unsophisticated, unaccountable do-gooders. But great non-for-profits are engineers of social good. They use data to inform, they listen to stakeholders, they skillfully leverage community assets and design bold solutions to address the community's greatest challenges and unmet needs. They create impact with thin margins while being accountable to the communities they serve. And the first time I delivered this training, one of our VCSEs that was in attendance pointed out that the voluntary sector can be more flexible and adapt to changes within their community quickly. So they can adapt even to right down to the individual's needs. So how can the voluntary sector help? They offer a wide range of services. This varies small voluntary-led groups to organisations with a few employees to a large staff teams resources. The sector has compassion, care and individuals prepared to go above and beyond. And who you work with depends on what your client needs. So thinking back to why people contact Staffordshire Cares, VCSEs can help with these needs. So just some examples of the VCSE services that are around in Staffordshire. So many of you may have worked with older people, but these examples show the breadth and types of groups that voluntary sector work with. So in the care and support groups, within Staffordshire, we have Newcastle or Silverdale, Crossroads Care, Approach to Dementia Support, North Staffordshire Carers. For befriending, we've got Silverlink Befriending Service, Loggerhead, Re-engage, Into Health and Wellbeing CIC. In mental health, we have the Line Trust on London Road in Newcastle and Brighter Futures, You First Emotional Support CIC, Staffordshire Network for Mental Health. Sports, we have a number of leisure centres. There's Jubilee 2 in Newcastle, there's Burton Cricket Club, there are football clubs, there's bowls clubs, there's lots. Abuse, there's Glow and Savannah, there's Staffordshire Pathways Project and there's Staffordshire Women's Aid. And for learning and disability, there's Staffordshire Adult Autistic Society and LifeWorks for Autism. Over the Wall, there's Season Theatre, there's Remap and there's Burton-on-Trent MenCap. They're just a few of the VCSEs that we find around the county and in some of those areas. So the Care Act outcomes, number 2, and particularly given the breadth of the voluntary sector, the VCSEs can assist people in meeting their Care Act eligibility outcomes on outcome 2, particularly G, H and I, so developing and maintaining family and other personal relationships, access and engaging in work, training, education and volunteering, and making use of the necessary facilities or services in the local community, including public transport and recreational facilities or services. Okay, so just want to look at this little video about asset-based approach. So just bear with me while I set it up.
Actively cultivating partnerships with local voluntary services, housing associations and other community organisations is a key aspect of integrated care, connecting people to a wealth of community resources, or what are called assets. Asset-based approaches are a means to enhance people's health and well-being and promote their resilience and independence. The range of assets encompasses community relationships and social networks, and community and neighbourhood services, activities and facilities. Asset-based approaches have been shown to support people's resilience and independence, personalised care and support, prevention and self-care. There are many useful examples and a growing body of evidence of the impact and success of asset-based approaches. Examples include community circles, peer support, and social prescribing, the means by which primary care professionals, such as GPs, refer people to a range of local, non-clinical services. The evidence suggests that effective deployment of asset-based approaches depends on some key building blocks. Reframing the narrative about people and communities, shifting the emphasis from deficits and needs to strengths and assets. Creating an ethos of co-production, focusing on well-being. Effective joint commissioning, partnership working and community engagement. Local service directories to support personalised care planning and self-care. And mechanisms for connecting people to each other and to wider community assets. There is promising evidence that through social prescribing and an asset-based approach to integrated care, people's well-being and experiences can be improved, reducing loneliness and supporting self-care.
There are many asset-based approaches being deployed in health and social care and in the housing services in the UK. These include local coordination, asset-based community development, community-led support, social prescribing as described in the video, shared lives and family group conferencing. While they all have distinct features, these share many common elements, starting with what matters to the individual or the community. So recognising the assets that are already whole, creating solutions through collaboration and engaging with people with respect and equality. So the community already has lots of resources. So if you look around the community, there are skills and knowledges that individuals hold. And there are resources and facilities. So they might be public, private, or VCSEs. There are friendship groups, there are community groups. There are also physical and environmental resources. But the question is, how do you find them? How do you locate them? How do you know where they are? So have any of you tried using the Staffordshire Connects website to find activities and community groups?
No, I haven't. I've never even heard of. Well, I've heard of it, but not
used it.
Not for this. No.
Okay, let's have a look at it then. Okay, let's investigate it and find what's there. Just bear with me while I get it to load. Okay, so there are 4 groups there, but we're actually going to look at adult and communities, but you can see there are 3 others other than the adult and the communities. And then you can see that it's broken down into other groups. So if you need to help people or look for a specific thing, you can do. So if we start with activities and clubs, because it kind of works the same kind of way. So if I wanted to know what groups are running in an area, so if I'm picked Cannock because someone mentioned Cannock before, so I can go to Cannock and do a search of Cannock. I could then break it down. So I've got any there. I could go to within 5 miles of Cannock. I can then choose an activity. So it might be somebody who's interested in gardening. So I can click on the gardening groups there. And there are 2 groups in Cannock that are interested that do gardening. So there's Chase Fit walks and outdoor activities. So they're they're obviously the outdoor side rather than the garden inside. But then there's the Wharfside community gardens and allotments. And then I can click on there and it gives me their information. I've got an email and a website address and where they actually located. It also tells me the cost and whether the staff are DBS'd. So let me just go back. If I was looking for transport, again, it will go the same way. I might be looking for community transport. And again, let's pick a different town. Let's go for Stafford. I'm gonna go to 10 miles of Stafford. So as you can see, there's 4 groups there that offer transport around Stafford area. So we've got Stafford and District Community Link, we've got Colwich, Haywood Voluntary Transport Scheme, and we've got Age Concern in Stone and Barlaston Volunteers as well. I have forgotten to mention that the site has got an accessibility to it, so I can make the text bigger, can change the contrast, so I can change the theme to cream. I can use a bigger pointer. Okay, so now you can see if that helps for people, if they're struggling, I can change things. Let's go to standard, default. And also if language is not their first language, English, I can select a language there. So it's a local directory that helps people to find support within their community, to help with well-being and independence. You can search for a range of groups, activities and services within your area. It's an umbrella site for different areas, so adult and community, children and families, including special needs and disabilities, and those looking for childcare or parenting support. The website's owned and managed by Staffordshire County Council and work together with different organisations like Support Staffordshire. And at the top of, which I've just mentioned, at the top, you've got the accessibility, as well as changing the language. And also at the bottom, if I scroll to the bottom, there is also, you can change it as well. It says there's a person in orange, which I have, I know why. I have to go back to there. And there's a person in orange down the bottom here that can change the accessibility. And just when I looked on there, I spotted something which I've not seen before. Homes for Ukraine. I hadn't spotted that one before, but if people needing support from Ukraine, there is a link there. There's also a link to the community help points. And this actually shows you where all of the community help points are within the county. So it tells you what a community help point is. But I'm going to look at that again in a minute. So we'll come back to that one, because we're going to look at help points in a minute. Okay, there is also Staffordshire County Council, and let's go to the website because I wanted to show you some bits on there as well. So on the Staffordshire County Council website, on the advice and support for adults in care, With the Help for My Life, you can see there is lots of different help down there which people can access. So the Happy at Home. Have any of you used this page, the Happy at Home page?
Yes, I've used it.
Yeah. So if you haven't, it is a nice page, isn't it? If you haven't, it does help if someone's struggling at home with things and they needed support. So let's look at the bathroom. It might be grab rails. And then it tells you all the different things that you can use around your house or have fitted around the house to help. So folding rails or wall-mounted rails or floor and ceiling rails or bath rails. I didn't know there were so many rails. Sit to stand rails. There's lots of them, isn't there? I've not clicked on that one before. To remember that one does loads. You can click on the kitchen and there's help and support in the kitchen of things. So it could be food preparation. So eating and drinking, opening cans, cutlery. As people get older, they struggle with the cutlery. Could be plates and bowls. It could be, you know, tap knobs, or it could be scissors, or eating systems, slip mats. So this this site helps you with lots of those. I'm giving you loads of ideas on the support that you can get and access. There is links to other places where you can get help. There's a benefits calculator if anyone needs them. And there is the community help points link again on this page. Okay, so I'm gonna stop there because I want to go back to the presentation, because I want to talk about the community help points. So community help points are established and trusted places within the communities, such as the libraries, voluntary organisations and the community centres. So when I go back to that page I was just showing you, there is a little video that I want to show you that's on there.
It's not always easy to know where to turn if someone just needs a little bit of help or support with day-to-day living, but there is a lot of help available, and often it's within our local community. What is a community help point? A community help point is somewhere that provides people and professionals with information and signposting concerning adults' health and well-being. The aim of the help points is to connect people with their communities and find out what services and support are available to help them around the home. Community help points are available for everyone to use. However, we expect that they will be most useful to older people or their families and friends, as well as those living with mental health needs and/or learning disability. Community help points are based at well-known and trusted places, such as libraries or community-based organisations. At the moment, there are at least 2 community help points in each district or borough, and we are looking at introducing more soon. Community help points are welcoming locations which have regular and accessible opening times. They can help people via phone, email, or in some cases on a virtual platform such as Skype or Zoom. Community help points will use and direct people towards trusted sources of information. For example, they will be able to put you in touch with local services or activities. Or they can help people to find out where they can buy affordable items and equipment that can be used around the home to make daily living easier. If you are interested in accessing a community help point near you, simply contact the Staffordshire Cares team on 0300 111 8010. Information about the locations of the help points is available on the County Council's web pages headed Advice, Support and Care for Adults. If you are a social care professional and wish to refer someone to the Community Help Point, you will need to complete an introduction form and email it to the Community Help Point inbox with prior consent from the customer. To get a copy of the introduction form, simply email us at community.helppoints@Staffordshire.
I'm just going to stop it there. Sorry, I sneezed and knocked the screen. Apologies for the screen disappearing then. If you are a social care professional, you should have had notification of the change now of accessing the help points, and that you don't do it by email anymore. There's a link that you use to do it. So you can access information about local services, become more confident in using the internet and finding information and solutions. They've got access to the Staffordshire County Council and Staffordshire Connect's website, and they share some of the important information with them if you can't access them yourself. They can find out where to buy equipment and technology to make daily life easier. They can help with debt, finance and form filling. They can access befriending services, both locally and nationally. They support with identifying local paid home help services such as cleaners and gardeners. And these are where they all are around the county. So in Lichfield, you have the Methodist Homes Association, the Lichfield Library, and the Burntwood Library. In Stafford, you've got Stafford Library, Stone Library and Rising Brook Church. In South Staffs, there's Codsall Library, South Staffs District Council, the Purton Library and Wombourne Library. In East Staffs, you've got Burton Library, Uttoxeter Library, Burton Albion Community Trust. In Tamworth, there is the Tamworth Library and Communities Together CIC. In Cannock, there's Cannock Library, Rugeley Library and Rugeley Community Church. In Newcastle, there is Newcastle Library, Aspires Housing and Kidgrove Library. And in Staffordshire Moorlands, there is Leap Library, Haregate Community Centre, Biddulph Library. There's the Methodist Housing Association of North Staffs, and there is Biddulph Town Council. If you live in the Staffordshire Moorlands, you'll notice that Cheadle's not mentioned there, but Cheadle Town Council are looking to put their own directory of things together. So there may be that some groups are doing it, but it's not been identified as a community help point, but there is that information still out there. The public health team got back to us because there was a question about how long it takes the community help points to respond if you make a referral. And when you refer to the public health team, the referral is forwarded twice weekly onto the community help point, and then the community help point should be contacting you. The referrer does not receive any further communication regarding the outcome unless the referral is deemed inappropriate or cannot be dealt with by the community help point. It is then usually referred back to the original referrer. So as the community help points are not directly commissioned services but partners, there's no defined timescale. So there isn't a timescale that's been set and been told that you will be responded to within 2 weeks, because it's down to the individual help points. Okay, so how do we help people now we've got all this information? So let's take a scenario, for instance. So we've got Mrs. Oakes, who is 46 years old and has currently moved into a new property and requires a reassessment of her needs. She has a variety of care needs, but also feels lonely and needs help with her bills and paperwork. She currently has a floating support worker who calls on her once a week for help. So you're looking at the eligibility the Care Act eligibility outcome 2G, develop and maintain family and other personal relationships, as well as 2I, making use of the necessary facilities of service or local communities, including the public transport and recreational facilities and services. What can we do to help Mrs. Oates? So we need to examine the resources that we have in our facilities. So if I share with you, accidentally closed it, just bear with me. Have any of you been sent this handout before the session?
No.
No, it's okay. You'll get it after the session to help you. So we'll do it now together. Okay, so thinking about Staffordshire as a whole, what kind of voluntary sector organisations do you know we have? And if anyone's got able to access the internet at the same time as being on here, in fact, we could probably do it ourselves, couldn't we? So let's just do a quick one. So if we go back, actually, and rather than let's go to I'm going to change my share back to, can you see the community help, the Staffordshire Connects? Have I shown you the right page? What areas do we think we could select that would help Mrs. Oakes, who is in need of support, particularly with form filling and getting out and about in the community? Which tab shall we go to look for help for her?
I'd say probably money and cost of living support.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Oh, look, there you go. Help with form filling. It's there. So, not sure if it tells me how many. So there's 2 pages of it. So let's put in Cannock Chase Activity Centre because that's top of my list there. So let me go back to here. So if I and then remember what it said. It was Cannock Chase, wasn't it?
Chase. Yeah.
Cannock Chase Advice Centre.
Thank you. So there's one thing we could do. So then we've got friendship groups. So let's go back and see if there's a friendship group that would help her. So let's go back to adults and communities. So a befriending and companionship schemes. Possibly not age concern, as she was only 46. But which good neighbours? Let's go for that one. Oh, lost my text again. I wrote on here once and it's disappeared. Maybe I need to write that way. And then this one was Canuck, wasn't it? It's a different system. Okay, physical sources. Let's go and have a look at those. So what physical sources could we send her to?
So health and well-being would probably be one of the prime ones to look at.
Okay, let's go back one. Okay, so we looked at so it could be so we could look at support groups, although they might be for specific health ones. So let's go back to health and well-being. Might be getting active, because she's got limited activity, hadn't she?
Mm-hmm.
So and click on the first one at the top, which I've been doing all the time. No, not that one.
Or the directory, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's just like a it's not a group, is it? I think it was a directory of things. Oh, this one might be better. There we go. Got to remember they're a CIC, and that they're delivering activities to improve physicality and physical and mental health. Okay. It wasn't called activity, it was activity or something, wasn't it?
Can I just ask, are all these like voluntary services? Because looking at some of these like leisure centres and venues and gyms.
No, so clearly some of the things that are listed in here aren't voluntary organisations, because the gyms that are on there, no, they wouldn't be they could be private ones. If it says CIC, they're community groups. If it, it says communities. So there will be some on here that are listed that aren't. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but this one, which said able to unite football, they're held at the leisure centre. So the group are probably a community group, but then in fact, shall we click on it and find out? So yeah, they're a standard football club which offers opportunities for adults to participate in football. So they're held at the leisure centre, but they're not.
Okay.
They're there.
Yeah.
Does that help? Does that make?
Yeah.
But yeah, but it's also, yeah, we'll tell you some of the physical resources that are in the area. So I think if I go back to because one of the things was parks, wasn't it? The parks aren't community owned, are they? Where was parks? That was in health and wellbeing, I think, wasn't it? Yeah, parks and open spaces. So some of these community parks aren't going to be the National Arboretum. I think that might be a charity though. But no, actually, that does look like most of those are community groups, with the exception of that one, possibly. Yeah. Okay, so you can put like, and individuals are the people in the community who have that information and know. So it could be the community help points, the people that work at the community help points. Okay. On the second page of this sheet is actually a directory so that you can pull that information together, and you will get a copy of this at the end, so you can make your own asset map so you can pull that information together if you needed to find out what's in your local community. Okay. Do you think, so normally when we do this activity, I would get you to do it independently. When we do the sessions, not over Zoom, but face to face, we get people to go off and look and find that information on their own. So if you know that or you think that there are areas where things aren't, where there are gaps, let us know, let your locality officer know, because they might know where those gaps are and they've just not been put on the system. They might know what's available and what things aren't there. You should ensure that you record in the care director if you're working in a strength-based way. So if you are working with any voluntary sector organisations, record it in the new My Assessment form. Okay. Was there anything though that you didn't know about? I mean, I know we quickly looked at that, but were there any organisations that you didn't know were around? Okay.
Yeah, quite a lot of them. Sorry, I was trying to get my mute off. Yeah, quite a few of them. I mean, because I work in brokerage, we get a lot of workers come to us saying, "Oh, well, do you know anybody you can support with direct payments?" Actually, this is a really useful tool that we can actually send them a link to actually say, you know, you can have a look at this. It might not be that everybody's aware this is available, this Staffordshire Connects. I found it really useful. I've shared it with my manager as well.
It is a really useful, because there is so much information on there. And it would be impossible, I think, for one person to store all that information and Definitely. Know, even if it was only for one area, you only knew it for your local area. There's still a lot of information on there. So yeah, it's a good tool to go back to. It is. Yeah. One of the things we did notice from it when we've been using it, that the information that people put in, it's the organisations, they choose what they say they can deliver, and sometimes they change and sometimes they can deliver additional services. So if you think that one of the organisations should be delivering it or might be delivering it, but it's not recorded on there, don't be afraid to go to them and ask them if they are offering it, because sometimes they do, but they've just not updated their offer on the Staffordshire Connects. So that brings me to Assist, and I'm going to introduce you to two voluntary organisations within Staffordshire that can offer support and help. And so I'm going to ask Becky first if she would like to tell us about Assist.
Hi, so I've stolen this presentation. It was actually Ruth's presentation, but my name is Becky and I'm the Staffordshire Service Manager. We also have Stoke-on-Trent's Service Manager, which is Neil Messenger, but he's not here today. We provide statutory advocacy across Staffordshire, and we are a volunteer organisation. That doesn't mean that we all volunteer and that we're not paid, because we are, and a lot of our funding comes from a local authority. But we are an independent organisation with a exec committee who oversee how we spend our money, and we don't earn a profit from it. So that might be a little bit to show how a volunteer organisation is different. Do you want to pop over to
that was, so there were your types of advocacy that you offer.
Yeah, so we do Care Act advocacy, which obviously we spoke about the Care Act, and when you're doing that, when do we look at when we refer for an advocate for somebody who is going through maybe a Care Act assessment or a Care Act review, or even a safeguarding if you're involved in that as well. Those are the types of advocacy that we provide for Care Act. So Care Act advocacy means that we will support that person through the whole process. So we'll support them to make sure that they're having their voices heard. I don't know if there was a slide before this, and I thought there was, about just what advocacy was. I don't know if it's gone.
No, sorry, I might have sneaked
that
one
I'll
out.
go through this, so I'll do this bit first. So
I snuck that one out.
Yeah, so we would be getting involved if the social worker made a referral to us. So the social worker might have somebody who is going through a Care Act assessment and has difficulty being involved in that process. So if they've got significant difficulties, whether that's with regards to being able to speak up in meetings, or it might be that they've got autism and find things difficult, or a learning disability, find things difficult to understand, you might want to consider whether you're going to refer for an advocate. And that's considering as well that they haven't got an appropriate person to support them. So with Care Act, we look at appropriate person as being someone who can support the individual through that process and be kind of on their side. So it wouldn't be a family member who had an alternative agenda, because they wouldn't be an appropriate person to support that person. So that's when we would come in and we'd support through the Care Act assessment. We'd make sure that the person was understanding what was being said to them, make sure that they've got things in a written form maybe that they can understand. We might support them to with words and pictures so that they can understand. And we might also support them if they're not able to do any sort of communication. So we'll do our best to communicate with them, and when we've exhausted all them avenues, we might use watch and brief. And that's where we look at the 8 domains of a quality of life, and we support somebody by asking questions of anyone making decisions around their life choices through the Care Act. We also provide independent mental health advocacy. So we provide advocacy to people who are detained under the Mental Health Act. So that's anyone on a Section 2, Section 3, a forensic section, and also people who are subject in the community to a community treatment order or a guardianship order. And we support them through anything that's to do with their care and treatment, making sure that they understand it, making sure they have a voice, making sure their rights are protected, and making sure that people are listening to what it is that they want. We also provide IMCA advocacy. So that's for people who lack capacity. If you're making a decision which is around someone's change of accommodation, serious medical treatment, or around safeguarding, and that person lacks capacity, so it's been assessed that they lack capacity, and if they've got no consultable friends or family, then we would provide an IMCA service. And what we do in that service is provide a report, get as much information as we can, maybe from the person, maybe from other people that work with that person, maybe carers, and provide a report which would ask conditions, would ask questions for the person making that decision to consider before making any decisions for that person. We also work as on the DOLS So we work as the representative for people who don't have a representative for the dolls, and we do NHS complaints. So we support people through the NHS complaint web of, I guess, difficulties that people come across. So with time limits that they've got, we are able to inform them where to make that complaint, and we can even do as much as writing the letter if they need that. Obviously, with advocacy, what we don't do is we don't try and take that person's abilities away. So we will work with them to ensure that they're doing as much for themselves as they can, but also supporting them enough so that they can be part of any kind of decision, any complaints, or anything that's to do with their rights. I don't know if you want to just...
Yes, and the next one was how they can refer to you.
Okay.
If they need to refer to you.
So it's really complicated because the advocacy is all statutory. We do have restrictions on what we can and can't accept. So our funding is only for the statutory advocacy referrals. So when for IMCA, where it has to be somebody who's located in Staffordshire. So they can be funded from anywhere, but if they're located at Staffordshire at the time when there's a decision to be made around serious medical treatment or a change of accommodation or a safeguarding with some sort of restriction that's going to come into place, then if the person lacks capacity and has no consultable friends or family, as long as they're 16 years or above, then they can be referred to an IMCA, and that referral usually will come from whoever's going to be making that decision. So it might be somebody from a hospital, so it might be a doctor, a consultant, it might be a social worker who's making a decision for discharge from hospital, and they can refer to us on our website for an IMCA, and then we would pick that up and be out quite quickly. So we tend to try and pick up IMCAs really quickly as well. IMHA, any person located in Staffordshire in a hospital who is detained under the Mental Health Act, or if they are conditionally discharged subject to a guardianship order or a community treatment order, then they can be referred to IMHA advocates, and anyone can make that referral. They can go on the website or they can just phone us. We don't have to have a written referral for IMHA. So if you're a family member, you can say, I've got a friend or a family member, they're in hospital, they're detained and they want an advocate, and we will pick that up. For Care Acts, our referrals do have to come from local authority. So they would be instructed through the local authority, and that's for people who are going through Care Act assessments, care planning, reviews or safeguarding under the Care Act. They don't have to lack capacity, they just have to have substantial difficulty taking part in that process. And then we've also got, if they've not got an appropriate person, again, to support them. And then NHS complaints, absolutely anyone can make a referral for that. It can be about your treatment or a family member's treatment if you've got permission to do that, and we will support you through the complaints process. And then we've got DOLs and RPRs, they all come through the local authority. So when you, if you've got someone in a care home and they're under a DOLs, the referral, if they've not got an appropriate person to support them as the representative, that will come through to us, and we will make sure that we visit regularly and almost act as that family member for that person to ensure that everything's being done for them that needs to be done. So yeah, I think that's in a nutshell what we do.
Yeah. And then just how to contact you.
Yeah, that's how we contact us. So it's by phone. Obviously, we can't accept all referrals. Some have to be written referrals, but we can point you in the right direction. And if you're not sure, just give us a call. We've got really friendly people. We're not like a press A or press 1, press 2. We do have somebody at the end of the phone who will be able to pass you on to an advocate for any advice on making referrals as well. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Becky. And then our second group is REMAP, and we have Richard.
Yeah. Yes, we make aids for disabled people. We make bespoke aids, and the organisation was founded in Kent in 1962 by a group of retired engineers, and this is where I think the name REMAP came from. They came up with the name of Rehabilitation Mobility Advisory Panel. And as though head office have tried to change the name, it's so well known now in amongst the NHS circles that mainly occupational therapists, that they can't, they think it would be detrimental to change it now, which is been lots of debate about it. But that's the name REMAP. You want to go to the next slide, please?
Yeah, yeah.
And basically, we make and design aids for disabled people, and we make design and make aids that are not available on the marketplace. So if there's a device there that they can purchase, then we will not make it, obviously. If they purchase something and it doesn't quite work for them, we will make alterations, but we can only make alterations if they purchase them. To make alterations when they've hired them or loaned them is more difficult, because whatever we put on, we've got to be able to unbolt. Whereas if they own it, we can drill holes through it and weld onto it and things like that. So that's part of the parameters that we have to work in. The service is free. We raise our own funds. And the volunteers, basically, they can be retired skilled engineers or employed, for that matter. We're very lucky on our panel, because West Midlands were quite jealous when they found out we've got a carpenter, and he's been an absolute godsend, especially through COVID, when families needed bespoke safety gates to keep the children from the staircases and out the kitchens in their homes, with children with behaviour problems. So do you want to go to the next slide?
Yeah, if I show you some of the examples.
Yeah. So basically, we will make anything within our capabilities. And we, at one time, before COVID, we were making a tremendous number of different types of ramps. And the big problem is with ramps is the fact that the standard ramps are no good, because nobody's house is standard. And like the picture on the left-hand side, that type of ramp, the two plates, we've come across that quite often where it just hasn't worked, and we've had to put extra bits in to make the ramps work. So as though there's a lot of bespoke ramps about, they don't always quite fit the requirements of the individual. So that's one type of project we do. If you'd like to switch to the next slide.
Yeah.
So mobility is a big key thing, and this was a gentleman with a mobility scooter. He needed his crutches with him when he went shopping, but he got nowhere to store them. So by the placing of some little cups at the bottom and some little hooks at the top, he was able to fasten his crutches to the back of his mobility scooter and pop off down the shops without any worries. And we've had another project come in last year, almost identical to this, but different in the sense was the lady had had a back operation, and she was a cyclist and belonged to a cycle club. But after her operation, as though she could still cycle, she couldn't walk. She'd lost her mobility without crutches, so she had to have crutches. And her problem was she wanted to join her friends cycling, but couldn't, because once she got off her bike, she couldn't go anywhere with them because she hadn't got her crutches. So I went to the same volunteer, and he came up with a similar device, but it was fastened to either side of the back wheel of a bicycle. So she was able to clip her crutches onto the back of her bike and cycle off happily with her friends. And when they went into restaurants or cafes, she could just take her crutches off her bike and pop in with them. So it's quite simple things like that can make a tremendous amount of difference to somebody's life. Do you want to try the next one, please?
Yeah, this is the next one, which I think everyone has a problem with. I don't know.
Yes.
I think we all have this problem.
Now, I believe there are devices now on the market, but when this was made, there weren't. And I had a referral come in again last year, and it was from a person with dwarfism, couldn't open his windows. My response was, you don't need to have dwarfism as a problem to stop you opening windows. We all have that problem. We were going to make him a device similar to this, because the volunteer who made this is still on the panel, and he explained how he made it. But they discovered there was a device already on the market. So we were able to send the client in that direction, as opposed to us actually making something. So from our point of view, whether we make something or whether we find something that does the job, it's a positive outcome. Do you want to go to the next one?
Yeah, yeah.
This was a young child. He needed physiotherapy, and part of his physiotherapy was to use to be able to walk on a machine. And unfortunately, he was too small, because being 6 years old, he couldn't reach the handles at the top. So to make it suitable for him, we put a couple of handles lower down so that he could use the device. And again, this was quite I think these were actually clamped on to the actual frame, but this is the type of thing that we'll do as well. So if you want to switch to the next slide.
I think the next one is your contact details if anyone needs to get in touch with you.
Yes, so our service is free, and the contact can be made through me or via head office. And head office, I think it's done online. It goes through a referral form, and then it's sent on to me by the Secretariat head office. So that basically anybody can refer. They can refer themselves, or a friend can refer them. It doesn't have to be an OT or anybody like that, a health professional. I mean, obviously the health professionals do use us as referrers, but it can be, we don't care. We don't worry where the referral comes from. We're more concerned about helping the individual. We try to cover the whole of Staffordshire. I say try. At the moment, I've not had any projects come in that have been too far away. But at the moment, I've got 5 active members, and 2 are in Newcastle area, 2 are in Stafford, and one's not far from me. He lives in Barton, because I live in Fradley, so I'm that side of Lichfield. But I've got 2 since the 16th of January, when we had our volunteers fair in the cathedral. I've been contacted by 2 people who seem very keen on becoming volunteers, so I'm very pleased about that. We covered 60 projects in 22, and we covered 67 last year. I've already got 6 projects in this year, so it looks like we're going to beat our numbers for last year again. And we've been slowly increasing our referrals since COVID. They dropped off during COVID, obviously, but they picked up again, and over the last 3 years they picked up with vengeance.
Okay, thank you very much, Richard. I think you see this, both organisations have their strengths and are very good. Yeah. Okay, thanks, Georgia. Okay, so you could signpost in 3 ways. This will depend upon the organisation and the individual circumstances. So you can signpost someone. So you could say, give them the person's address or telephone number to contact themselves. So with it, for instance, if you knew someone needed Richard's help, you could just give them Richard's contact details there and leave it to them to contact Richard and do it themselves. It might be that you need to make a formal referral, and in this case, you fill in a form and you send it off, and then the formal referrals made. And obviously the third one is a warm introduction. And this is where you take someone along to a group and possibly stay with them for a couple of sessions to make sure they're feeling comfortable and they're happy to stay on their own. We do actually have someone in Staffordshire, in Support Staffordshire. He only works in one area and he usually works with gentlemen. And he has done this. He goes along as a volunteer and meets people who are too nervous to go into a group on their own and goes in with them. Unfortunately, as I said, he's only one person in the whole of the county, but it is a really, really good thing to do. And so if you hear of anybody else who does it, that would be great. But I think it would be a nice thing to do anyway, wouldn't it? Like, oh, I'll come along to you to the knit and natter and sit with you for half an hour in the knit and natter. So yeah, sometimes people lack the confidence to go themselves, so need that warm introduction. So I've talked about the Staffordshire Connects and Staffordshire's own website, but Support Staffordshire have a website and a directory of their members as well. So let me see if I can find, let me see if I can find our website, just bear with me. Let's go there. If I click on the home button. Okay, so this is our website at Support Staffordshire, and obviously it's the community button you want. But on this main home page, if you scroll down, you'll see there is an organisation directory. And if you click on it, it works very similar to the Staffordshire Connects one. So let's think of another town. I always do that, an extra letter in Lichfield. So if we choose Lichfield, and let's go again 5 miles, and then we can choose an activity. So let's look at arts and crafts. But I'd like one that is only for men. And possibly for the 50+ age group. As you can see, I could choose morning or afternoon, etc. So I've got quite a few things there that gentlemen can do if they're living in the Lichfield area and interested in arts and crafts. So they might want Pulse for music. And like the Staffordshire Connects one, if you click on it, it gives you the contact details and how to get in touch with them and a little bit about the organisation. It's got their website, etc. Similar to the Staffordshire Connects one, it does rely on our members because this directory is a directory of our members. So this one is all made up of the voluntary sector, and it does rely on them updating their details correctly themselves on the database. So again, if they change, so for instance, this one says they work with children, young people, vulnerable adults. If they lost their funding and weren't working with children, but just working with vulnerable adults, unless they updated it, we wouldn't know. Okay, so it does rely on our members to update it themselves. Okay. We also offer accredited, confidential and inclusive volunteering, and our volunteering officer is called Emma. She covers the whole county and has a team working with her. So she does have volunteering officers in each region or in specific regions whose role it is to match volunteers with our member organisations who are looking for volunteers. So it might be someone's lonely and vulnerable, but they want to actually volunteer. and that can help with positive mental health, and it is proven to do so. The accreditation is a national quality accredited, so it's through the National Council of Voluntary Organisations. We do share information with organisations if somebody wants to volunteer, but the person's information, the sensitive information about themselves, we won't pass on without discussing it with them first. So we only pass on the information that is appropriate and necessary. And Volunteering for All approach is designed to help those who don't necessarily traditionally volunteer, and it includes those with social care needs. And yeah, that was Emma's email address if you wanted to find out what volunteering options are. And I'm saying your clients, but it might be you that wants to volunteer and help in an organisation. Within each of the areas, we have locality officers whose role is to help our member organisations, and they can offer you help and support to if you're struggling to contact them. These are the local area organised locality officers, and I apologize, this is only up to date until the end of the month. Maria is leaving us, so Maria's only in post till the end of the month. I think it's actually February. I think she's in post till February because she's going to go and do some further training. So the other thing that each of these does within their area, they hold regular networking forums so that you can go along and meet our members and find out who they are and what they do. And then once a year, and it's usually about June time, they hold a marketplace forum. So you can go along and some of the members put up a stall and share their information about what they do, or they walk around and network and meet each other, which was how I met Richard and talked him, I'm not going to say conned him, talked him into coming and join us on this training. So it is really useful, and your emails where you get information, Helen usually puts those dates on and does share those, so I would look out for them because they're definitely worth attending because they do help you to meet us and meet our members. So then just I have another case study, but this one, as I mentioned, is a case study. This is where it's worked. This is what has happened. Ollie was referred because he was interested in social activities, but lacked confidence and self-esteem. He had a learning difficulty. After speaking to him and his mum, they arranged to meet face to face. So he was supported to access something called the Wellies Project, and the service was about personal growth and building confidence, which would help Ollie with his lack of confidence and anxiety. So Ollie started at the Wellies Project and he gets picked up and returned to Tamworth Town Centre. Ollie enjoys two days a week through the connection CT, which stands for Communities Together, CIC made for him. Ollie has begun volunteering at the Hub in the CAF, the Hub CAF on each Monday, Tuesday and Friday. And he pops into the Community Together offices each week to say hello. He said he feels more confident now and he likes to have things to look forward to. He feels better now and is working to help people. So if you remember back to the page about community help points, Communities Together CIC is actually a help point in Tamworth, And so they met with Ollie, they got the referral, and they spoke with him, found out what he needed, and then referred him on to the Wellies project. Any questions?
No, but a huge thank you, Sue, Becky and Richard. That was really interesting. It was lovely to hear about Assist and just sort of get a recap. And also, Richard, I wasn't familiar with the service that you provide. So that's great to know for future reference as well.
I think I was like, when I first met Richard and he told me what he did rather, not what I did and what he did, I thought, wow, like you said, it's not something you think about, I guess, until you're in that situation, you need it, or you know someone who's in that situation. So yeah, I thought it was, yeah, a really useful one.
I know that I'm not the only chair that's complained to head office about the lack of knowledge of people at even in the sector. Most people had heard of us are the occupational therapists. Outside that area, hardly anybody's heard of us, and a number of people that look at me blankly and say, I've never heard of this charity before, and are really surprised with what we do. And I must admit, before I got involved, I'd never heard of it. And I think, like I said at the beginning, part of it is the fact that engineers get their heads down and they get on with things, whereas, we haven't got that administration skills. But thank you very much for your comments.
Not at all. It's a great thing to spread the word and have these opportunities to do that. And lovely to see the slides with the adaptions on as well, Richard. I think that really helps to bring things to life and to make it, as professionals, to think about how perhaps we could support people to contact you to make simple alterations to make life a little bit easier and more independent.
I think right, and I think also Richard would be really grateful if you actually happen to meet some people who had those skills that might want to help him as well.
Definitely.
My eyes open.
It's our last meeting we did by Zoom because two of the guys work, so they can't come to the meetings. And then two of the other guys said one was on holiday, the other one they got to go to a funeral. So in the end, there was just a Zoom meeting between myself and the treasurer. We decided that we started January with 3 projects, and the guys that I was going to give the projects to were not going to be at the meeting. So we just had a meeting where we just covered the basic financial rate, the situation with the panel at the moment. And mentioning finance, it cost us £1,500 last year to do the 67 projects. So we are not very expensive at all. And this is because we all work from home. We don't have any premises. We don't have any staff as such. So we've not got no overheads. So we try to keep the price. We try to keep our expenses down to the bare minimum as we can. That's why I need more volunteers, because we used a lot more money about 3 years ago with travelling expenses than we did actually on the materials for the projects.
Yeah.
So yes, volunteers will be very welcome. I'm just glad at the moment nobody's thought to contact me from right down the Kimber end of Staffordshire.
Yeah.
I've got nobody down there at all. And
okay, so if you're in the Kimber area, please find Richard a volunteer.
Yes. Yeah, because I know that there's nobody in Wolverhampton for the West Midlands panel. So they're stuck. I think we're all stuck very much the same.
Becky, do you cover right down to Kimber?
Yeah, I was going to say I could get a lift with one of our advocates. We're up and down all the way from Kimber, Newcastle, Leek, like we're literally across the whole of Staffordshire. So
yeah. So yeah, there are things that far down. Trust me, we do get people down there.
yeah, we have quite a lot in Kimber, and everyone goes, oh, because it's just such a little bit right far down, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I said to Richard, I will let all of our advocates know what you do, because I'm sure it will come in really handy with some of the cases that they're working. So hopefully we don't bring you in too much work, but maybe a little bit.
Yeah. I bet you do, actually. You probably do come in contact with a few, don't you? Yeah,
absolutely.
But this is why I'm trying to publicise as much as I can, because through all different walks of life, we are coming across disabled people and people that need the help and the aids, and quite often some of the simplest aids make the biggest difference. It always surprises me when the guys have done something, how simple it is and the difference it's made to the person's life.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. If there's no more questions, thank you very much, everyone. I've dropped the evaluation form link into the chat box. As I said, you will get the slides emailed to you after the session. So thank you. And I'll also make sure that that asset map handout comes to you as well, so that you can make a note and maybe keep a record of some of the organisations that you know and have met.
Do you want to stop the recording as well, Sue?
Good point. I should have stopped that when people were asking questions, shouldn't I? Apologies. Okay.